it depends on the audience you're performing to, quite a bit. And I think, especially once I performed in the US, it was this College Union's Poetry Slam Invitational, and our college had sent a team. And for example, when I was talking about certain things that are very Singaporean, I think I had to sort of like explain it, or I had to add like more descriptions of it, of certain things I was talking about. But I think more so than now, I think rather than relatability, I think it's timeliness. And you don't necessarily have to jump on a wagon of something that is happening right now, like something that's happening current. I think you can take a topic that is evergreen, something that has always been, and sort of like give a new voice to it. So I think that sometimes it becomes a very safe choice to be like, open up a newspaper, find something you're really upset about and be like, I'm going to rant about this today and then put a piece across. I think that there's so many things that are, I think history has a funny way of repeating itself. So kind of also drawing, experiences from the past would also be something that we can look to, rather than kind of like, this has been trending on Twitter or on Facebook or on Instagram, so I'm going to pick that and I'm going to write a rant poem.
Yeah. That was actually one of the things that, it's one of my gripes about poetry, that it is great, on one hand it is great to write poems about that engage with the world, about things that you're passionate about, poems that really unite people, but on the other hand, if there's lots of people doing the same thing and writing about the same thing, maybe your point of view, your take on it ends up being less interesting. You don't really have the time to really sit and think about what you're writing about. You're just sort of like, in a way, mirroring what other people are saying. But for me, I think I do find that, at some points I do find I had to be relatable. It's very easy to want to say something relatable that people are going to laugh. People are going to, you want to talk about the problems of adulting or that sort of thing, or make jokes about like pop culture. Which I think pop culture poems can really work and are really amazing. You need more, Taylor Swift poetry. But I think there's also, the problem of pandering to an audience, and people can tell also if you are pandering to them and that you're not really being maybe that authentic, I guess. For me, I think maybe one way around it is, I think my own principle is that if you are entertaining enough, if you are interesting enough, and your performance and the words that you're using are sort of like, just entertaining, interesting to watch and listen to, you draw people in, you don't have to worry as much about being relatable, because you could be talking about anything in the world if you're presenting it in a way that's empathetic to the audience, that you present it in the right ways, I feel, that are fun to watch. People will watch you, and you don't have to worry about pandering to them.
Me and Steph were discussing about this before. Southern poetry has always been very popular by the internet and through social media. And I think for me, I find it hard to kind of see how it's shifted. Perhaps with like your initiative, it's sort of like something that kind of went in person, kind of was brought in the online space as well.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right that a lot of spoken word has actually reached a lot of people because of things like YouTube. And even before the pandemic, it was hugely popular online. And I think a lot of people got their first taste of spoken word through online videos. I think what's been interesting in the pandemic is that, there's been a lot more open mics on Zoom, on like live streamed open mics on like Facebook Live. And again, they're very different from live open mics. But I think the interesting thing is it's become very international. So you get people from all over the world in a single open mic. People are learning, I guess, to perform to their webcams, do a good performance while sitting down. And one interesting thing is that I guess although the audience interaction isn't the same, people can leave comments in the middle of your poem. So you do get this cool thing sometimes in online open mics where people actually will quote your piece. I feel it's not so much about conveying it on stage like an actor, but more about like, I think the answer depends on the person, and I think it's usually the kind of emotion that you're most afraid of. So it's an emotion that like I myself would be the most scared to confront. It's desperation, desolation, something along those lines, because I think I do write about very sad, very serious things, but I think a lot of my poetry tries to be, at the end of the day, as even if I'm writing about the most depressing thing in the world, I try to still have some lightness to it. So I think I would find it really hard to write a piece that it's like nothing but desperation, nothing but everything is bad. So I think that kind of emotion for me would be really hard to capture.
I think on the top of my head, I think writing about hope is difficult. I think that's really difficult because if I wanted to, I could always just sound like some other confidence coach or like you can do it, everything's okay, sunshine, rainbows. Like, so how do you actually make hope sound very personal?
Yeah, and how do you make it believable?
And like without it becoming across as preachy. And I think Amanda Gorman did a fantastic job of it, and I think it also helps that she took a certain context. But I think for me, an individual talking about hope, about healing, and in a way that is so personal and is so intriguing and pulls you in without it seem like just affirmations said out loud, I think that would be something that I would like to see. And hopefully, probably there is like tens of pieces that do exactly that, but I haven't seen that much of it yet. So I think for me, that'll be very difficult. Writing about hope in a way that's very believable and convincing.